Hello and welcome to I24 News Sports Daily Magazine with all the latest scores and stories from around the world. Thursday evening, Champions League fever is on, and these are the headlines. Real Madrid with their class and style on one side, Atletico Madrid with their unending fighting spirit on the other. Only one of them will be the European champions. 3 weeks ahead of the World Cup and the troubles just keep on coming. Traffic is paralyzed in Sao Paulo due to a bus driver strike, causing great concern for a traffic gridlock during the tournament. San Antonio takes a 2-0 lead over Oklahoma City. The Spurs are now just 2 games away from another trip to the final. Durant and Westbrook were no real factor in Game 2. And we choose our top 5 for this week. Novak Djokovic is in. The new European basketball champions are also in, and so is Marc Marquez, as any of them are number 1. Hello again, and thank you for joining us. We are live from the Jaffa Port. We begin, naturally, with the Champions League final. It may be played in Lisbon, but it's the battle for Madrid. Real against Atletico. One is the Spanish champion, the other is a Spanish cup holder. Who will add the second season trophy? The classy Merengues or the hardworking Colchoneros? We'll all know the answer on Saturday night. And Merav Savir takes a look at the preparations for the biggest match in European football.
The Champions League final, the battle for Madrid, Atletico versus Real. It's the first time 2 teams from the same city will meet in the biggest showdown in European football. The Colchoneros are coming off a high, winning the La Liga title in a dramatic game versus Barcelona last weekend and spending the beginning of the week deep in celebrations. But as the weekend nears, it's time to refocus.
Now we have to turn the page. We would be saying the same no matter if we would have won or lost. We have some days to work starting today. We will try to approach the game the best way, knowing that we face a powerful team with lots of skills and decisive players.
Last Saturday's final game in La Liga may have been a victory for Atletico, but the team also suffered 2 harsh setbacks. Diego Costa and Arda Turan both went down in the game against Barca. But Simeone hasn't lost hope that the team's leading scorer, Costa, will be back by the time the first whistle blows. For its part, Real feared losing top scorer of the Champions League, Cristiano Ronaldo, but the striker seemed confident he'll be available.
I'm feeling better. I started to work on the pitch and I had a good feeling. Also inside the gym I felt good. There are still 4 days ahead. That's a lot of time.
Atletico has the edge in 2 regular season meetings between the squads with a win and a draw. But Real won both legs against the Colchoneros in the Copa del Rey semi-finals. On Saturday, Real Madrid will try for a record-extending 10th European Cup, making them the favorites to win in Lisbon against a team that is making only its second appearance in the final in 40 years. But Real's players disagree and see themselves as the underdogs in this game.
The favorite to me is the current La Liga champions. They have played better than anyone to get to be winners and also to be playing in this final. But the favorites don't always win. The history doesn't win. The crest doesn't win. It is going to be a very divided match in which Real Madrid is going to leave their soul. I don't know about Atletico Madrid, but I can guarantee Real Madrid will.
I think both teams are in great moments, and obviously Atletico winning the league last week. They're obviously going to be on a high, and I think it's going to be a difficult game. You can't really say who's favourites, but I think, as I said before, it's about taking those big opportunities, big chances when they come around, and hopefully we can do that.
Members of both teams have said the game could go either way. For Real coach Carlo Ancelotti, the formula for winning seems simple.
I usually say that this kind of game, the team that showed more courage, more personality in the game, is the team that is going to win.
And with us in the studio is I24 News football analyst Yoav Borovich. Hi, Yoav.
Hi, Jonathan.
So, Yoav, we don't really know if the classy team is the one who's the favorite, the hardworking team. Many people point to Real Madrid as the favorites with their money, but with everything we've seen so far this season, are they really the favorites over Atletico?
It's a season of the underdog. You know, it's a season of crazy upsets. Let's look what happened in Spain. Atletico Madrid winning the championship, advancing to the Champions League final, huge upset. Let's look in England. Manchester United having a terrible season, Liverpool almost winning the championship. Let's look at the Champions League semi-finals. Bayern Munich being a very big favorite against Real Madrid, losing 4-0 at home.
At home, 5-0 in aggregate.
So how can we talk about favorites and underdogs? I agree with you. Real has more talent, much more money. But Atletico has the final spirit, and they have the togetherness, they have the coaching, and it's going to be a very interesting match between two conflicting styles, two conflicting budgets, conflicting fan bases from the same city. Just a war.
And Sergio Ramos himself said the favorites are the current Spanish champions. He said it himself. Now, Diego Costa will probably be out. We're not sure yet. Pepe, we're not sure yet either if he's going to play. These are major problems for both coaches.
Sure, because Pepe is having a good season in Real's defense, but Diego Costa is having a tremendous season in Atletico's offense. You know, without him, David Villa will really have to step up. Arda Turan also got injured. We're not sure if he'll play or not. Juan Fran, we have Gabi, we have Koke. We have some good players in Atletico, but if you compare it to the Ronaldo and Benzema and Gareth Bale and Di Maria, it's not the same standard, obviously. But so eventually it will be a game between Real's offense versus Atletico's defense and Atletico's midfield. Without Diego Costa, who's a very good goal scorer, it's going to be even much harder for Atletico.
Now, Atletico just came off a final last weekend and at the Camp Nou. They won the championship. They took a lot of pressure off their shoulders because this season is now officially successful. Will this be easier for them now to deal with Real Madrid with the Champions League final now that this season is successful, even if they lose?
I agree. I think psychologically, mentally, it is going to be a bit easier because the big monkey is off their back. They won the championship in the Camp Nou with Diego Godin scoring this header. Tremendous achievement for Atletico, but now they have even a chance to
make it even better.
Make it even better with a bigger achievement. And I think some pressure is off, but still, when you go to a Champions League final, there's always pressure on you.
And plus, it's one game. Anything can happen. Very interesting to see. Yoav Borovic, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Now to World Cup news, and after the organizers were relieved to see the new terminal at the Sao Paulo airport finally being delivered, they have numerous new problems to deal with. Bus drivers in Brazil's largest city are on a third day of a strike, causing major traffic delays and leaving hundreds of thousands stranded just 3 weeks away from kickoff. Drivers walked off the job, leaving vehicles parked on major roads and closing more than half the terminals in Brazil's business capital without giving warning of the imminent gridlock. Local media reported of more than 260 kilometers of gridlock throughout the city on Tuesday and Wednesday. And in these situations, you would usually look to the police to enforce order, but in Brasilia that can't really happen as they're on strike as well. Police in the Brazilian capital held a 24-hour strike and demonstrated in the streets on Wednesday. The Brasilia units joined at least 10 other state civil police units that were also on strike yesterday, including those in Rio and the state of Bahia. They demand salary and bonus adjustments, new safety measures, meal tickets, and infrastructure concerns, along with other related issues. The strike ended today, but the protesters warned they could strike again during the tournament if their means are not met. NBA time now, and we go straight to Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. Oklahoma City knew they had to win this one, going down 2-0 against the very experienced Spurs would be something very hard to come back from. The Thunder were still in the game at the beginning, but when you talk of experience, you talk of Tony Parker. Every time OKC was hoping to break away, he came up with a bucket. Midway through the second quarter, the Thunder just disappeared and San Antonio took charge. The leading trio were joined this time by Danny Green, who scored 21 points, all of them coming from the three-point range. Green shot 7 on 10 from downtown. Ginobili nailed the final shot of the first half. Spurs up by 14. The third quarter picked up just where the second one ended. San Antonio dominating the floor. Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook were nowhere to be seen. The Spurs win by 35, 112-77, and take a commanding 2-0 lead. A fantastic night for Danny Green, who had nothing but compliments for his teammates.
Big part comes from my teammates. You know, when I'm running down the floor, I hear Tim for some reason. I always hear Tim yell, light it, or, when he's coming to set a screen. And I kind of get excited a little bit, and it gives me more confidence to take the shot because I already know he's behind me and he's ready for me to shoot it. So, every time I look up, run the floor or dribble up the floor, I look for Tim and look for a screen or see how the defense is playing me and, try to find the rim.
There's no team from New York City anymore in these playoffs. The Nets lost in the Eastern Conference semis. The Knicks didn't even make it. But what about players from the Big Apple? They used to dominate the league. Now they seem to be gone. This story and more in this week's press review.
The NFL
NFL season kickoff is still a few months away, but the league is already in the headlines. In time, 8 retired NFL players are suing the league for allegedly giving them risky narcotics in order to cover up any pain they may have had from injuries while playing. And these narcotics apparently led to medical problems later on. According to the suit, the league wanted to speed up the recovery time to get the players back on the field as soon as possible and to make sure fans still fill the stands. The players mentioned in the complaint said the NFL got and handed out the drugs illegally without prescriptions and without telling players about some of the side effects. And happy birthday, Yaya Toure. Please don't leave Manchester City. According to BBC, Toure was, quote, very upset and could leave. Toure was given a birthday cake when the team flew to Abu Dhabi, and the team tweeted at the player saying happy birthday when he turned 31. But his agent says Toure was ignored by the team's owners when they arrived in the UAE to celebrate their Premier League championship, saying none of them shook his hand on his birthday. His agent also said he was unhappy in March before signing a new contract, but that this time it's about respect, not about the money. And speaking of birthdays, Lucy Lee made history before becoming the youngest player to qualify for the U.S. Women's Open before her 12th birthday. She won the sectional qualifier at Half Moon Bay in California, beating second-place Kathleen Scavo by 7 strokes. The 11-year-old will surpass Lexi Thompson as the youngest qualifier for the Open, who was 12 when she competed in 2007. The Open is held from June 19th to 22nd. And in Bleacher Report, Vincent Thomas asks, what happened to all the New York ballers? New York City basketball stars used to be the norm in the NBA. Legends like Bob Cousy, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bernard King, just to name a few, and they all had a New York City style. But now, at the start of the 2014 playoffs, there were only 2 true New Yorkers on the rosters, and there were only 5 on regular season rosters or players who were waived during the season. Thomas thinks New York's lack of representation would have been unthinkable years ago, and now a New York City high school graduate hasn't been named an All-Star or made an All-NBA team since 2004. And last but not least, Twitter is bringing players together. 2 rugby players who got into a physical fight during the Premiership playoff semifinals, which ended with one of them being decked by a tough bunch, made amends on the social media website, with the player getting knocked out saying, "Good shot, mate, and good luck in the final," and the other admitting, "Sometimes the jersey just gets the best of us. How about a pint?" It's always nice to see the humor and friendship, even if things get a little rough.
And now it's time to look back at the top 5 plays and moments of the week that is ending. Here we go. Number 5 goes to the Red Bull Air Force teammates who used wingsuits to fly through the New York City skyline before they landed on a barge at the Hudson River. After jumping from the plane, they flew through the skies at speeds of up to 120 miles per hour before deploying their parachutes for a perfect landing. At number 4, we find the 2013 MotoGP champion, and nothing seems to stop him on the way to being the champion again. 5 races were held this year, and Marc Marquez won all of them, including this one in France this past weekend. With just over a quarter of the season gone, Marquez already holds a 42-point lead over Dani Pedrosa in second. Rafael Nadal won the French Open 8 times in the past 9 years. Is he the man to bet on him this time? Not so sure. Number 3 goes to Novak Djokovic, who beat the Spanish Bull in the final of the Rome Open on clay and sent a clear message that he is the man to look for in Roland Garros. The tournament in Paris begins this coming Sunday. They were facing Barcelona at the Camp Nou. They were down a goal. They lost 2 crucial players early on. But nothing could stop Atletico Madrid, the new Spanish champions, to get our number 2 pick. Not only for the character they showed in the championship match, but also the will and resilience they demonstrated through the entire season. And the winner this week are the new European basketball champions, Maccabi Tel Aviv. The team in yellow beat Real Madrid in the EuroLeague final in overtime. Soon after, there were wild celebrations on the court in Milan and in the Rabin Square in Tel Aviv. The Prime Minister and the President also took part in festivities, which brought national euphoria. It's been nearly 4 months since the Seattle Seahawks won the Super Bowl, but that doesn't mean President Barack Obama forgot about it. Yesterday was the time for the champions to pay him a visit at the White House. This was the first championship and the first White House visit for the club in their 38-year history. President Obama acknowledged the fact that most analysts did not see the Seahawks as potential champions at the beginning of the season, and added that their championship, based on a solid, strong defense, demonstrated the importance of teamwork above individual glory. The Seahawks gave Obama a 12th man flag representative of the notoriously loud Seattle fans. And just before we leave, we want to introduce you to the new World Cup mascot. It's not a big ball and a small ball you're seeing, but rather a football and an armadillo, which was named as the mascot of the upcoming tournament. The armadillo, usually found in northeastern Brazil, is in risk of extinction due to deforestation and hunting in its habitat, and environmentalists hope the campaign to save it will be boosted by this recognition. Another reason for the choice is the armadillo is that when it's frightened, it rolls up into a ball small enough to fit in one hand, looking somewhat like a small football. And that's it for us today. Don't forget, you can watch us anytime on our website at i24news.tv. We're also on Facebook and on Twitter. Thank you for watching and have a beautiful day.